sure everything is up. It says we're live. We're going to give it a second.
That was beautiful. Harmonic even.
But we want to make sure that we're actually live. I know last time that was a problem we had.
Do you need me to pull it up?
I'm pulling up right now.
I'm pulling it up right now.
No, I'm pulling it up right now.
It's up and coming. Starting at.
How come OBJ didn't play yesterday?
Huh?
How come OBJ didn't play?
I think
He's
he's
been
dead.
kind of injured for a while.
Don't am I allowed to swear?
Preferably not, but
Okay.
is this up and live? I can't tell.
I don't know. I don't have Wi-Fi. I can't tell.
Oh, there we go. We're up.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to GridIron Banter. I'm your host, Dylan Ford. Today, we're joined by Michael Battisti. Oh, that's Michael Battisti. And Joshua Conroe, who is our special guest for today. We are not going to be joined by Gavin, sadly. He was not able to make it. So today, we're going to be talking about Week 2 predictions, and we're going to be talking about the Miami and Buffalo game that happened just last night. We're recording this on September 13th, so let's just get into it.
Friday the 13th.
Spooky.
Spooky day. Would either of you like to kick off talking about what happened last night with the Thursday game?
Sure. So it started out basically turnover battle on Tua's part. Threw a pick that bounced off a defender, leading to an easy. I think they got a touchdown off that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a 4th down sack that got turned into a field goal, and then a pick 6 by Tua. So it was a really sloppy game by the Dolphins' offense overall, and the Bills were just easily able to capitalize on all those mistakes and gain a pretty good lead. Josh Allen looked fine. That crazy game from Josh Allen, I think he had 139 yards on 13 completions and then 1 throwing touchdown. Not a crazy stat line. James Cook had 3 touchdowns on the night with 78 yards, which is pretty good for his standing. Well, Dolphins weren't as productive, but there's kind of a reason for that.
Yeah, obviously we saw early on Tua throwing about 3 picks in the first essentially half of the game. Not really a good start for any quarterback, you know. The first couple, I do not believe were his fault. I think the first one just happened to bounce off the defender wrong. Second one, they just weren't on the same page. Third one was just him trying to get it out of bounds, ended up throwing a pick. But obviously the bigger news that came from this game, Tua had left the game early with a concussion after smashing into DeMar Hamlin's knee after trying to slide after a 6-yard run, I believe. Obviously, this is devastating to see. As a Dolphins fan, you hate to see your starting quarterback go out for any reason, and especially with a concussion, which we know Tua has a problem with and has had problems with in the past. You know, you hate to see this, and we're all hoping that Tua can get back and become healthier. But in general, how do you think this impacts the Dolphins with Tua's injury? Either of you want to?
Well, I feel like the Dolphins are gonna lose a lot of if you're a fan, you're losing hope for the season. It's not it's really terrible because he's had concussions in the past and he keeps coming back, but the fear is always there that with one more concussion, he could pull Andrew Luck and retire right on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And that would leave the Dolphins in shambles, kind of like with Jordan Love right now with the Packers.
Yeah.
You could see him also being injured for a long time, which would dismantle their playoff chances.
Yeah, Green Bay basically went from the number one, or not number one, but a Super Bowl contender in a lot of people's eyes to instantly a bottom 25 team, which was just because Jordan Love's going to be out for extended time, which definitely going to be the case for the Dolphins. I don't think Skylar Thompson is good enough to deliver the ball to the many weapons of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. This just should slow the offense down, and they should lose a few amount of games. I still think there's a chance for them making the playoffs. It's just a really hard division they're in with the Jets and the Bills. So I guess we'll just have to see.
So
I think with the Dolphins now with this Tua injury, you're going to see a lot more of their running backs in motion. We saw with Achane a lot yesterday just because of the Mostert injury.
Yeah.
But now, especially with Tua gone, you're going to see a heavily increased run game with the Dolphins.
Yeah, obviously Devon Achane was a star this game. We kept running him even after Tua got out, which I don't know if it was the best thing to do once we've already essentially lost that game. But he looked great, working in the passing game, working in the running game. Devon Achane really is the star player at this point. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were very weren't able to get anything done, and that's mostly giving credit to the Bills' defense. The Bills' defense is really good at now allowing the big play, and that's what kind of Hill and Waddle are known for. So being able to stop that from the Dolphins is a big part of why I think they won this game.
Yeah.
But
Tyreek Hill was held to only 36 yards by the end of the night, and Jalen Waddle only 45. So on his race for 2,000 yards, which looks like it's not going to be in the goal anymore, it's not looking good for that.
obviously very rough for the Dolphins, but big win for Buffalo. Going forward, this team might be a lot better than a lot of us suspected. Obviously, there was questions on who could receive the ball here, and obviously, I think that going with the wide receiver committee has really worked out for them. I think it's worked out for Josh Allen, and they found a lot of success throwing the ball and running the ball, honestly, this season so far. So going forth, what are we thinking from the Bills?
I think that they take the division. I know when we originally did our predictions here, we had the Dolphins taking it and then Jets in second. After what I've seen this year, Bills lost many key pieces, but they show no signs of slowing down offensively or defensively. I think they take the division, probably Jets in second, and depending on the severity of the two injury, Dolphins third.
Agree?
Yeah, I feel like those are perfect predictions.
Yeah.
Especially how, like, this, I think it's perfect.
All right, so moving on to the week 2 predictions for the rest of the games that's going on this week. Obviously, Buffalo beat Miami. I believe you both would have gone with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would have gone with the Dolphins being the Bills, but obviously that did not go up to plan. So, without further ado, let's just get into the first game of week 2, starting with Las Vegas going to Baltimore. And I feel like this is a slam dunk for Baltimore. Coming off the loss against Kansas City last week, sucks for them. They want to get that bounce back win. I don't think Las Vegas has it in them to go into their stadium and win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we saw a lot of shocks last week between Cincinnati and Patriots. Patriots won an upset game. The Saints absolutely destroyed the Panthers, so obviously anything can happen, but in this game I'd be pretty shocked if the Raiders actually pulled something together here.
I'm in the same boat. I think Baltimore's really looking for their rebound game. Starting the season 0-1 is not the ideal look for the Super Bowl contender of the AFC besides the Chiefs. And Vegas, on the other hand, was really hyped up about their defense and their offense, and it just did not really pan out like they thought they would. They'll probably fix some things, but I imagine it'll take a couple weeks, so I got Baltimore for now.
Yeah, give me Baltimore. Vegas got clapped by the Chargers of all
Yeah,
team. We think they're
true
going to be
that.
bottom of the league. Chargers dismantle them. Ravens lost by barely a toe,
Yeah.
just outside the end zone.
Tiny little inch.
Yeah, needed a one size lower shoe, and they would have won.
Yeah.
Moving forward, we got the Chargers going to the Panther Stadium to play them. And obviously, Panthers, not the start you were hoping for. There was high hopes for this team. It's readjusting. High hopes for this team to kind of do something this year with their new head coach. But obviously, we did not see that. Losing, I think, 47-10 against the Saints of all teams, someone in your division. You really do not like to see that as your start of your game. I think Bryce Young's first throw was a pick. And, that's not what you want to see from what you were hoping would be your developing quarterback this season.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, it looked pretty abysmal all around. The offense looked horrible. They were hoping that Bryce Young would take that lead, like you said, and I didn't see anything different. You do give him benefit of the doubt. He's on a horrible team, horrible offense, but he just really did not look good. And that defense, I'd argue, is the worst in the league right now, besides maybe Commanders. But I got definitely Chargers winning this.
Yeah, I agree. Chargers got a commanding win over the Raiders, proved that they're still in it with Herbert when he's actually not injured, and the Carolina Panthers just looked bad. We could see another Josh Rosen type situation with Bryce Young.
Yeah. I hope not, because I like him, but it does not look good right now.
Obviously, we'll see going forward how the Chargers can do. Going in the Panthers, they should win this game. But moving on, we got Dallas play New Orleans Saints at home. Josh is a Cowboys fan, so would you like to kick this one off?
Yeah, I will. As much as I'd love to pick the Cowboys, I'm going to. But I do see this as an early trap game like they had against Houston in 22. where they barely beat the Texans, who are a bottom team in the
And
league.
Cardinals last year.
Cardinals was a
Yeah.
trap game early on. Saints I see is like the biggest like trap that they can fall into. I do think that they win. I do think that the Saints defense is not as good as it was put up to be against the Panthers, and the Cowboys had a commanding win over the Browns last week, who are a playoff team and were predicted to win that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I got Cowboys. I predicted the Browns to win last week just because the Cowboys didn't really do anything notable in the offseason, and I figured as long as Deshaun Watson could move the offense, that defense I feel like would be able to take care of Dak and CeeDee. Opposite happened. Deshaun Watson looked terrible. Dak and CeeDee look as good as they did last year. They should continue to be good for the rest of the season. I got Dallas winning this, though I do see your point. I think it could definitely be a trap game. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I'm also going to be taking Dallas here. I think the Saints putting up 47 was a like once in a season kind of thing. They did put up a lot of points last year. I don't remember how, but I believe they're in the top 10 most points scored. But I just don't see them doing it against Dallas this week, and I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. Also, one thing to look at actually for this game is Jake Ferguson. He got injured week 1, and he might still play this week. I know there have been rumors that he's kind of been iffy on it, so we'll see if that impacts them in any way. See if the Dallas Cowboys would have their number 1 tight end going into this week. But moving on, a really good game, another playoff game from last year. Detroit playing Tampa Bay. Either of you want to start with this one?
I'll start it off. So, Tampa Bay, yes, they're playing a very terrible Commanders offense. Looked really good on the offensive side of the ball. Mike Evans was able to get a lot of work in. Rashad White is continuing last year of his poor rushing production, but great receiving production. Chris Godwin also looked really good. He had, actually, let me pull it up real quick because he had a good stat line. Right here. Godwin had 83 yards on 8 receptions and a touchdown. That's pretty good. And Mike Evans had 5 receptions for 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Baker looked good. I know some people were saying, Gavin was saying that we could see a Baker slump because it's like a cycle where every other year he like go from being bad to people doubting him to having a good season to being bad to having people doubt him. So Gavin was saying that this is supposed to be his bad year, but so far he looked great. I think I got Detroit looked fine. It was a close overtime matchup. They could have lost it. I'm going to just shake things up. I'm going Tampa Bay this week.
All right, Josh?
Yeah, as much as I'd like to pick the Bucs, I go to Tampa every year. I love the Buccaneers, but I can't. The Lions just have the overall better team.
That's fair.
As like you said about Baker, I do think that he'll slump a little bit, but it's nice that he found a home after all these years.
Yeah, I do like that.
If we look at last week, especially because Baker's from Cleveland, he had a 159 QBR compared to Watson, who had a 7.
Damn.
Yeah, like the worst ever in StatCast rating.
Yeah.
But I do think with Detroit, they need to try to get their more superstars involved. Gibbs was injured, so I'm assuming he was a bit more limited. That's why they ran so much with Montgomery. But Amon-Ra was not even there. I don't know.
What did he do
He did nothing.
3 receptions for 13 yards.
Yeah.
That is a very bad game.
So as much as I'd like to take the Bucs, I just think that the Lions have an overall better team. I do think they need to involve their weapons more, and that's something like the Bucs were very good at. They used both their receivers. They used their running back. Everybody got involved against the game against Washington, but
Overall, you're going to go with the Lions.
yeah.
I agree with you both on this, or not you actually, Michael. I agree with Josh on this. I think the Lions are going to win this game, having the better football team. They did this last year. I will say that going into this game, it'll be interesting to see if how Amon-Ra is played and how he'll actually try to produce this week. Because last week, he was double covered for almost the majority of the game. And we know that the NFL is a big copycat league. You see something that works against the team, you're going to do that. So maybe limiting Amon-Ra is a big way for Tampa Bay to actually win this game and produce it during this game. But obviously, we saw that going with that, Jamison Williams was able to pop off, get some very deep balls, and get a couple of touchdowns for this team. So going forward, I think that they're going to have to scheme more with Amon-Ra. He can't always just be open for them. But I think that, nonetheless, the Lions are going to end up winning this game. But moving on, we got the Indianapolis Colts playing the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the Packers losing Jordan Love last week to something in his knee, I believe. So how do you think this is going to affect their production overall?
I think they're instantly a different team. after seeing Malik Willis go in, was it like end of 2022? He looked very bad. He was basically just would rush every now and then just because he couldn't get the ball to anyone. Green Bay sucks where they're at. I don't think they're going to be good. This would have been a good matchup if Jordan Love was healthy, but I think Colts get back on the winning side of things, get this game, and start contending for this difficult division with the Jaguars in Houston. So I got Colts.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with Amir. Packers look like a completely different team. They're, in my opinion, I'm a Cowboys fan. I hate the Packers. They beat us every year. But the Packers don't have the greatest of weapons on offense. They don't have a superstar wide receiver. Josh Jacobs is going to be good. He always has been, always will be. But the only thing is, the Colts just have a better, flushed out team.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman does need to get involved a lot more than he was because Anthony Richardson threw the ball 9 times, and that's not going to win you games, especially against this tough Packers defense. But I do think that the Packers will end up losing just because of their quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really do need Pittman to do good for my fantasy team because he dropped a solid 5 points last week.
Better than Amon Ross 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very tough production from both of these teams last week, besides Anthony Richardson, I would say, and Jaden Reed. Those are the two shining stars for both of these teams. Overall, though, I do think the Colts are going to win this game. I think the Packers are just not in a position to start winning games at this point. I could see an upset, but I'm a big Colts fan. I think that Colts are going to end up winning this one now and showing why they can compete in this difficult division. But moving on, we got the Browns going to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a weird game. Anyone want to start with this one? Or
I'll start.
All right.
I think this is one of the closest 50-50 games of this week. Cleveland offense looks awful. They have weapons they should be able to use in Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. Even Jerome Ford doesn't even look bad. And they got Njoku. It's just all on if Watson can lead the crew and actually put up. Did they even get an offensive touchdown last week?
They had a rushing touchdown from Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
I believe he did a passing one in the beginning.
Yeah. So they need more production from Watson. Jacksonville, similar situation. Their offense looked good, but I want to see it look better for how many explosive players they have on that team. Trevor Lawrence has all the help he needs. He has ETN. Bigsby, even a name that people have doubted for many years, also looked good last week. The rookie Brian Thomas looked very good, and they need Evan Ingram to get more involved because he only had one catch last week. Defense, I think, will decide this game, and Cleveland definitely has the better defense, but I think I'm going Jags just because their offense should be able to overpower the opposite offense.
So, yep. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, give me Jags. Cleveland does have by far the better defense. But with that offense, if Deshaun can't even throw the ball to his own teammates, how are they going to score touchdowns?
Yeah.
So at least the Jaguars, though ETN did fumble goal line, which really led to the Dolphins' victory. That's kind of the whole reason the Dolphins were against the Bills and seen as favorites to win the division, just because of their really good stuff. But the Jags also have a sneakily good team. Mm-hmm. It's not like they really got worse. They re-signed Josh Allen, who's now has a different name because he doesn't want to be Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I think that they can pull off this upset. They're in Jacksonville, so that'll give them a bit of an advantage. But Cleveland just doesn't look like the same team it was last year with the GOAT, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
My favorite player.
I don't know why they let him slip, and I feel like it's just a no-brainer to re-sign him instead of having him go to the Colts where he's just going to sit on the bench and watch Anthony Richardson.
Well, especially because I think that they really want to just have Deshaun play.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he might get cut because of another assault allegation. But I've heard this a quote on Twitter. I'll quote this here. Deshaun Watson might be a better person than he is football player.
That is a bad take, but it's so funny.
But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game from both sides. Obviously, Jags are going to have to overcome a really good defense here. And the Jags defense is going to have to overcome a very not good offense here. But overall, I think that Jacksonville just has the better overall stats. I think that their defense will help them win this game against this really crappy offense. And I don't see a world where Deshaun Watson plays out of his mind after the game he had last week. So I'm just going to go with Jacksonville here, play it safe. I think this will be a good bounce back win for the Jaguars. But moving on, we got the Niners going to the Viking Stadium to play a football game. And this is definitely one of those matchups that you would think would be roughly even, but I have no semblance that the Vikings are going to be able to do anything in a game against the Niners. What do you guys think?
Vikings, well, I was fortunate enough to watch the Vikings play last week because they absolutely killed my Giants, which was not fun to see. I think I was predicting them like worst team in the league, going to be awful, even with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones. But I was wrong. I admit it. I think they're going to be okay this year. Not enough to beat San Fran. San Fran just looked good on every single front against the Jets. I definitely have San Fran here, but I think Minnesota can at least make the game a little competitive and show some form of life.
Yeah, last year we did see the Vikings pull off an insane upset against the Niners.
Oh, I
so
forgot about that.
call me crazy, but I'm still taking the Niners. Yeah, they're a far better team. Even without Christian McCaffrey, they still looked like the best team in the league.
Jordan Mason really stepped up last week and crushed it, filling that CMC role.
Yeah. Also, I do want to mention, because I did just get a text that reminded me, back in the start, me and Gavin predicted the Vikings to go 0-17 and be the worst team in the league. But now they beat the Giants, and they're not. So I guess there's something to their season. At least they won't go 0-17, but they're not beating the Niners.
Yeah.
I just believe the Niners here got the better overall team. Obviously, their offense is just as good as it was last year. They obviously lost Christian McCaffrey for a little bit. But Jordan Mason obviously has filled that role and proven that anyone in Kyle Shanahan's office as a running back can produce. And that really just goes for the entire team, both defense and offensively. So moving on, I think that the Niners are going to win this game pretty easily, but we could obviously fall into a trap game. But moving on, we got the Seattle Seahawks going to play the New York Patriots. Josh, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, I will. Seattle looked pretty good against their game against the Broncos. I mean, they put up decent amount of points, and they got to win. That's all that really matters.
Yeah.
New England also looked very good against the Bengals. However, the Bengals are a cursed franchise in the first 5 weeks of the season.
Mhm.
They always lose to the strangest teams.
Yeah.
They lost last year. They lost to who was like the really weird one.
To pull it up, I don't remember.
I remember they just had like a really strange loss, especially with Joe Burrow's injury. Year
Mhm.
before, they lost to Cooper Rush in Bengals Stadium, where he led a game-winning drive against them. And I just don't think that the Patriots really have it in them, though, to beat the Seahawks. I think that the Seahawks are a sleeper team. I think they have the far better team. Patriots defense is good, but Seahawks have far better weapons.
Mhm.
Geno Smith looks same as usual, a pretty okay quarterback.
Enough
He'll get
to
it done.
win,
Yeah, enough to win.
I completely agree. I think the Seahawks should come away with a win on this one going to the Patriots Stadium. Obviously, a lot of people were shocked with what happened. Bengals were heavily favored to win this game, but obviously early Cincinnati Bengals are always something to watch. So Patriots ended up coming away with a win, but I do not see them going forward, continuing this streak. I think that it was like a once in a blue moon kind of thing that they won this game. Happens every season. Some teams beat teams that they shouldn't. And I just don't think that the New England Patriots are going to be able to pull this one out like they were to last week.
So fun fact, me and my friends run, it's called a Survive and Pick'em League. It's basically you pick one game each week, and if you get it wrong, you're basically eliminated from the competition. So in my friends' league, every single person except for one person picked the Bengals to beat the Patriots. So we basically all lost that league, and the person that picked, was it?
No,
It
there's
was-
two of them. It was
that was-
Devin and Aiden, but I believe Aiden
Aiden
forgot
doesn't
to set his
count.
lineup.
Yeah. Aiden just got auto-picked and got lucky. Devin picked a funny one in Panthers to
yeah.
lose to the Saints. He survived, so no one was expecting Patriots to pull off that win last week, and they screwed me over with it. I'm going Patriots again. I think they're going to be a funny team this year, and like I was saying, they're going to be like the Vikings, also like the worst team in the league, especially not playing Drake May. I don't know. I don't love the Seahawks team. I think Geno Smith is very overrated and not that good of a QB. And nothing more than that, I got Patriots.
All right, well, moving on, we got the New York Jets going to the Tennessee Titans. Anyone want to start this off, or?
Sure. So Titans lost a devastating game to the Bears. I had Titans winning last week. I didn't do really good on my picks at all. They should have won it, in my opinion, but lost it from sloppy offensive play is what I saw. Bears defense had a day. On the other side of the ball, we got with Jets. They looked fine. I was hoping more of a fight with the big Monday night game and the Super Bowl loser versus the hyped up team of this year. Didn't really fill my expectations. Garrett Wilson looked fine. Breece Hall looked fine. Aaron Rodgers looked fine, but nothing crazy. I think Jets have the better defense though, and should be able to produce similar to what the Bears did last week, and should be able to win this game.
Yeah, I agree here. I think that the Jets overall looked solid. They obviously played a Super Bowl favorite team, which is not what you want to see as your first game of the season. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers was able to stay healthy this full game, which is huge for them. Obviously doing better than last year. Going forward, I think this team will be able to win a couple more games. I think they'll be able to make it to the playoffs at this point. I'm just wondering, going forward, will this defense be able to carry them to a successful game? You know what I mean? I think that overall the Jets should win this game, but Titans obviously showed a little bit of spunk in being able to put up points. They did that early against the Bears, obviously losing late to their defense, but I think this will be a close game. I think Jets will win the game out at the end of the day, though. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, give me the Jets. Titans looked all right against the Bears till they just kind of collapsed at the end and let off just an absolute devastating loss. Will Levis did the good old fall to his knees in shock. He couldn't comprehend that loss. He knew it was over, and he knows it's going to be over against the Jets.
Yeah.
They don't really stand a chance. I think that the Jets get a lot more involved in offense, especially with Breece Hall. He looked really, really good against the Niners, which is what he was projected to do, and I think he'll continue doing that.
All right, moving on. We got the New York Giants going to play the Washington Commanders. And for the first time ever, I am now outnumbered from Giants fans to non-Giants fans. I now have a Cowboys fan here with me, so I think this will be a more interesting conversation. But, Michael, I'll let you lead this one off.
All right, so my Giants looked absolutely shitty and just terrible last week. Oh, my. It's just awful game. I didn't even want to watch it. Daniel Jones is basically... I was going to say Daniel Jones is Hitler. He's basically the worst thing.
Whoa!
That's a crazy take.
You should not say that, but
we need to get him out of there. I think we need to lose out this season to get a new QB. But Daniel Jones has only lost one singular time to the Commanders. I don't think he'll do it this week. Daniel Jones will beat the Commanders.
Yeah, you're dead wrong. It's about to be 2 times.
No.
I've got a message that says Giants all the way trust. It's a fake lie. Yeah. Whoever sent me that is clearly delusional. The Giants don't really stand a chance. There's nothing even bright about that offense with Malik Neighbors is hurt now.
He cleared. He got cleared.
He did get
Gavin
cleared.
Just sent that,
That's something at least. Commanders have Jaden Daniels look pretty good on the ground. Not very good passing, but that could change over the season. I think that the Giants have a very good defense. They're a sneakily good defense, and I think that they can shut down the Commanders enough, but not enough to get that win out. I just think that DeAndre Jones turns the ball over too many times, and the Commanders pull out a sneakily close, 3-point field goal win.
Oh, I hope not.
I can see that perfectly happening. I love Jane Daniels, obviously. I think that Jane Daniels is going to produce in this offense, and I think especially against the Giants, this is a slam dunk matchup for him. As much as I do enjoy watching the Giants stink, I don't think that the stink is going to be able to do anything this week. I'm going to take the Washington Commanders to win this game and beat the Giants at home.
I think you guys are just haters. What'd you just call them? The stink?
The stink,
The stink, yeah. The stink is going to... Yeah, I know you're sneakily... The Commanders, I've noticed, are your second favorite team. I'm going to stand on that. You better prepare to lose this week.
As much as you love these Giants, I'm going to point out one just fact is that the Commanders are at home, and home field advantage does mean a lot with 2 shitty teams.
Tommy DeVito dunked on the Commanders at home last year. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
If Tommy DeVito can do it, I think Daniel Jones can do it.
You act like Tommy DeVito's going to be playing over your supposed Hitler.
Okay, moving on. We got the LA Rams going to play the Arizona Cardinals. Josh, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, I will. This is going to be a good game. Look at the Cardinals, did very well against the Bills, collapsed towards the end, almost pulled off the major upset against Buffalo. Rams also looked very good against Detroit. Got Cooper Kupp involved. It's insane that Puka's already hurt, and that's kind of horrible for their season, but Kyron looked good. The punt returns didn't really hurt him at all. He looks the same that he always is. However, I am going to pick what I think is an upset. I'm taking the Rams over the Cardinals at home.
I couldn't agree more. I like the Rams. I think they had a good day. I just think it kind of struggled against the Lions a little bit more than everyone was thinking. Obviously, Puka Nacua getting injured was a big part of this offense, and you hated to see that. As I'm not a Rams fan, but I'm sure anyone seeing injuries sucks. I think Cardinals were a dark horse team going into this year. Marvin Harrison obviously was not as productive as we were expecting.
4 yards.
Yeah, 4 yards, 1 reception. I bet they'll be more productive with him this week. I bet you'll give him the ball a lot more. But I think Cooper Kupp, going back to prime Cooper Kupp years where he got 21 targets, 14 receptions, that's insanity for any wide receiver and at any team. So if they can continue to do this, feed Cooper Kupp the ball, I think that this team will be able to win more football games. And with the lack of Puka Nacua, it might not impact them as much as we were all thinking. But moving on, we got the Pitts.
You just skipped me,
Did I
sir.
skip you? Well, I'm sorry. I'm a little after that Giants take. I don't know if I can trust you.
Damn.
They're trying to censor me here. You heard it here first. But I've taken a lot of the underdogs today, and I think I'm gonna. This one I don't really know who's the underdog. I'm gonna say Cardinals.
So Cardinals are 1-point favorites.
Oh,
I will
really?
add that.
I guess I have the favorites this week. I think I got Cardinals. I really liked watching them play against the Bills. Kyler Murray looks back to a good, comfortable self. James Conner rushing game looked very good, a lot better than I thought it would. Rams also looked fine defensively. I think they'll be better. I just think hopefully I want to see more Marvin Harrison. So I got Arizona taking this week. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and then moving on from something that might be a high-scoring game to something that I do not think will be a high-scoring game, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers going to play the Denver Broncos. Oh boy, both of these teams are very, very interesting to watch whenever they play. Would either of you like to start with this one?
Sure. I think both of these teams are bad. Don't let Pittsburgh fans fool you. I don't think they're going to be a great team this year. They are so carried by their defense. It's insane. That's basically why they won week 1. But on the other hand, it is going to be Russell Wilson's revenge game. If he's healthy. Is he healthy, actually?
I think he'll be playing, but I'm not 100% on that.
Well, if he is playing, he's going to go off because he wants to take revenge against the country that abandoned him. Broncos country, let's die. I got Pittsburgh. They have the better defense.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah. So Pittsburgh didn't look very good against that. What did they play?
Oh, Falcons.
Yeah. Pittsburgh didn't look good against the Falcons. Russell Wilson was suited up to play the game on the sideline, even though he wasn't allowed to even play in the game. I think that's just an interesting fact to add on.
Weird.
Denver didn't look good at all against Seattle. I think Bo Nix was picked off 2 or 3 times. That's 2 or 3 more times than it should be.
Yeah.
But I do think that Pittsburgh has enough of a competent team to pull off the win, but I don't think it'll be like a wide margin. I think it'll be kind of like against the Falcons where they just kind of barely beat them.
Yeah.
They kind of ran them into submission. However, I do think that the Broncos are my sleeper team of the year.
I can see it.
To win a good 7 games, more than they should win though.
Yeah.
I think they can pull off some upsets here and there once Bo Nix gets into kind of the rotation, but I don't think he's anywhere close near that yet. I think after the bye week, they maybe could get a little bit better, but right now, I'm still going to take the Steelers over them.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that before we go down. I do like Bo Nix so far, what I've seen. He didn't look perfect that game, but I think with development, as all QBs need, as soon as they enter the NFL, Bo Nix should be okay. I think you're right. They'll be better later on. Dylan.
I completely agree with that Denver Broncos take. I think that starting the season, you're obviously expecting a lot from Bo Nix. Obviously did not play up to what they were hoping. But going forth, I think he will be able to produce in this offense. At least I hope he does. I like the Broncos. I think they're a solid team this year, very underrated. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are just a more developed team at this point in time. Their defense obviously carrying them to the win last week. They did not score a single offensive touchdown in the win against Atlanta, which is something you do not see that often. But moving forward, I think Pittsburgh is going to win those games that they either A, really shouldn't, or B, are just really close. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to pull up the win against the Denver Broncos. But moving forward, we got, 3 years ago now, a AFC Championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Going to be a very interesting game. Would either of you like to start this one?
Sure. This is a matchup I really wish was later in the season, just because, like you said earlier, we're probably going to see that early season Joe Burrow, which is not even a joke anymore. It's just what he is. He never starts out the season strong. I think KC takes advantage of that and easily wins this game. KC's offense looks amazing right now. Pacheco looks great. Rice looks like he's going to be top receiver in the NFL this year. And even Worthy looks really explosive. So they should win this, though. Cincinnati has the ability, just because of how good they should be, to put to run Chiefs for their money, but Chiefs should win this.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Early season, Joe Burrow is a completely different person. I think Deshaun Watson might be better than early season Joe Burrow. But later season, this would have been an amazing matchup. Like Week 17, playoff on the line. Yeah. But this early, Chiefs look just too good. They whooped the Ravens.
Yeah.
Or I guess not whooped.
They were dominant the whole game.
They were until the very end, and then a toe saved them.
Yeah.
However, I do think, though, that the Bengals will put up more points than last game against the Titans.
Yeah.
I think they're going to slightly turn it around, but I still don't think they'll take it off.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I think that the Chiefs are in a prime position to be the Super Bowl favorites this year. Obviously, Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy doing a lot for them last week. We're not going to see Hollywood Brown actually for a little bit. It came in just today that he will be being placed on IR. They're going to be there's a shoulder surgery he's going to be partaking in. So we'll see how that affects this team in total. Obviously, the Bengals did really bad last week. I think it scored one touchdown against the Patriots, which is not really what you want to see as a team. I don't think that it's too early in the year for the Bengals to actually produce anything against the Chiefs, who are the Super Bowl favorites at this point in time, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, it's going to be an interesting game to watch. Obviously, maybe Joe Burrow will surprise us all. He always does when he plays the Chiefs. But moving on, we got the Chicago Bears going to play the Houston Texans.
Sunday night game, too, to keep
Sunday
in mind.
night game, yes.
Game.
Josh, you want to start this one?
Yeah, I will. Texans looked really good against the Colts, and especially playing on the road in Colts Stadium. I think they
Against
looked amazing.
rival,
Yeah, especially you would think that the amount of weapons for C.J. Stroud would also limit his production, but I think it just kind of opened it up a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that Joe Mixon, despite being an old man, looked amazing as well. And then don't even get me started about the Bears. Let me tell you a story. I go, Father Conroe, the Bears had Caleb Williams play today. He dropped 96 yards, something around that. He goes, oh, I knew that guy was a bust. And I guess he was right, because Caleb Williams does not look good. He has the weapons, he has the offense, he has the defense, he just can't put it together.
Yeah.
He needs to turn it around this game against the Texans to attempt to even prove something likable about him. Right now, it just looks very bad and grim for the Bears, as per usual.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, Bo Nix, I was talking about earlier, how the QBs need more time to develop. And most of them, like C.J. Stroud was a really rare case of just out the gun being a great QB. But the difference with, Caleb Williams is that he's the first overall pick, and he's supposed to be this generational talent of, the past 10 years. So I agree with you. He really needs to, in the position he is, with all those weapons, he needs to start producing more. Their defense bailed them out last game. I think Houston easily wins this game. I don't think the Bears are a good team, really. So, Caleb Williams, do something, please.
I actually am going to go. I do think the Houston Texans have the better team, and I think they will most likely win this game. But I do actually see there could be an upset during this game. I think the Bears going forward, Caleb's playing his first game. Everyone's going to be struggle at least a little bit their first game.
Shake off the Kings.
So I think that Caleb will get better as the season progresses, and I think he will become one of those generational talent QBs. Obviously some of the big QBs like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, these guys, were on the bench for a couple of years before they actually started, which is why they came out and they were great off the bat. I think Caleb's going to be one of those guys that is going to take a year or two to get great, but we're going to see him working through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me add on to that. Tom Brady has gone out on the record and said that he thinks it's better for quarterbacks to not start the season because you get that development, you sit behind your guy, and then
Yeah.
you play. That's what happened with Jordan Love. Look at him now. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
Especially, like, look at last year. They just threw Bryce Young in. He doesn't
Yeah.
look the greatest anymore.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, he's not looking very good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with that. I think that even though in some cases I don't like I want to see Drake May play just because I feel like the Patriots aren't really contending for anything or
I think that he might end up like starting by around mid-season.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll move on from Jacoby Brissett that fast.
Yeah.
But I think it will happen this year.
But overall, like, I agree with what you said. Like, they're not going to be like, I think playing QBs early season like that sometimes can basically kill their careers. Like, kind of what we're seeing with Bryce Young. I feel like if Bryce Young was in a better situation and not thrown into the NFL, because college and the NFL are same sport, completely different worlds. And I just hope that doesn't happen with Caleb Williams, but I don't think it will. We'll have to see, though.
Yeah, it's going to be obviously a very interesting game to watch. C.J. Stroud was the breakout QB from last season, obviously starting out the best. We have seen QBs come out the gate and be good.
Yeah.
But obviously, we'll see if Caleb Williams can produce as much as C.J. Stroud has been able to. But moving on to the Monday night game, we got the Atlanta Falcons playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, both of you hate the Philadelphia Eagles, so I want to hear your guys' take on this. Josh, you want to start out?
Yeah, I despise the Eagles with a burning passion. As much as I hate them, though, I can't take them over the Falcons. They didn't look good against the Steelers. Kirk Cousins, he's Kirk Cousins. You like that? Not really. So I think the Eagles far better team overall, more weapons, especially when you have two number ones like that. Especially because like they're guarding. A lot of teams are now guarding the team's number one, like double covering them. You have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Both of them are going to be good.
Yeah.
One of them is always going to have the lesser person cornerback on them, and I think that they're always going to get good like targeting, good receptions. And Saquon Barkley with a little hat trick on the Packers. Yeah, that must kill to be a Giants fan. They're stealing all your players.
Yeah.
They're winning. Yeah. As much as I hate the Eagles, I can't take them. I'll even give you the score. I'm going Eagles 35, and then I'm going Falcons probably 25.
All right.
Michael, you
Yeah.
want
I'm in the same boat. Eagles are my most hated rival out of the three in my division. I just can't stand them. I hate the fan base. I hate everything about them. But they're going to win this. They're just probably the NFC favorites. I'd even probably take them over 49ers as long as they can get that defense going better. Their offense is just insane right now. I also think I saw clips of Kirk Cousins. He looks like he's not 100% in his throw power, in his movement. He just does not look like how he looked a year ago starting off the season but yeah, just like a year ago starting the season against the Bucks. They lost that game. They were losing a few games last year. It was like the running joke that Minnesota couldn't
They
win.
went, I believe, like 1-6. The only
Yeah.
win was against the Giants.
Yeah. So it was pretty bad. But he looked good, though. He was putting up monster yards, monster touchdowns, was looking like an MVP candidate. Didn't see that at all from Atlanta. So many weapons around him they should produce. I hope they make it competitive. I want them to beat the Eagles, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, let me quickly add real quick. You were talking about the Eagles' defense. Their front line looked amazing.
Yeah.
However, the Eagles'
Backfield,
secondary
yeah.
is still getting cooked in the
Yeah.
back line. That's something they need to address, that they need to attempt to figure out. They drafted two rookie cornerbacks that look pretty good,
They just need
but
more time.
they need more time
Yeah.
to develop. I do think that the Falcons will have a far better time throwing the ball than they did against Steelers.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the throw chart for Falcons, they threw only on the outside of the numbers
Oh, really?
because of the safety duo of Justin Simmons, and they didn't want to throw in there to risk him
Yeah.
picking off the ball. I think that the Falcons will have a much easier time throwing the ball deeper down the field, allowing more bigger plays.
I feel you.
Yeah, I can definitely see either team winning here. I think the favorites are easily the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's who I'm going to have taking this game. Saquon Barkley looked amazing, obviously. I know you hate it.
I
But-
hate it, but like I cannot hate Saquon. He was such a good guy and was basically the only beam of light for the Giants of like the past 5 years. I'm happy to see him succeed. I just wish it was for any team, not the Eagles.
Yeah, but either way, this offense for the Eagles is probably the best in the league at this point now that Tua is injured. I think they're going to always put up so many points. As long as they don't collapse like they did last year, I do have them as a Super Bowl contender this year. I think against the Falcons, they are a better team, but I just don't think against this Eagles defense they're going to be able to really produce as much as they would probably be hoping for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, that's going to end it for our Week 2 predictions. So any final thoughts on any of the teams before we continue on?
I'm really looking forward to Texans on that Sunday night game. They're a team I'm really excited for this year. Actually, I want to do it while we're here Thursday night since we won't just throw it in there.
Talk about the next Yeah, we can talk about the next
Because
Thursday.
we missed it because we do our podcast
one
on
is it?
Friday.
So,
It is New England versus the Jets.
So another AFC East matchup. Obviously, this one this week did not go so well for Dolphins fans. This is going to be a very bad game, if I had to guess. Very
Yeah.
defensive. I don't think a lot of points are going to be scored either way. What do you guys think?
I think the contrary. I think this is going to be a bloodbath. I think that the Jets and the Patriots will both have a decent enough offensive game that decent enough offensive game that defense won't really play a huge factor in. I'm still going to take the Jets over the Patriots. That's a no-brainer, but I just think that it won't be as defensive as you think. I think there will be a lot more offense. Like, they find the holes, a lot more running, especially in this game.
Mike, what do you think?
I also got the Jets. I just think they're better on offense and defense. Patriots, I know I took them last week for week 2, but not this week.
Yeah, Jets, I think, are the clear favorites to win here. Obviously, they got the better offense fully and probably the better defense, but who knows? Patriots beat the Bengals. We'll see what happens during this game. But moving on from week 1 or week 2 and week 3 predictions, something I want to talk about is how the rookie QBs did in their first performance. Obviously, we talked a little bit on Caleb Williams, but what we saw from Caleb Williams, what we saw from Jane Daniels, and Bo Nix this week. Starting off, I think we should just start off with Caleb, continue that conversation. Yeah. Either of you want to start with any thoughts to start off with him?
So I know I dove into it a lot. I was expecting more just because I think we talked about it before on this podcast, is that he has one of the best entry-level lineups you've ever seen for a rookie QB, because usually a rookie QB is going to, like, the worst team in the league, but what's his name? Ryan Poles, the Bears GM? I forget what his name is. Either way, he completely fleeced the Carolina Panthers into setting up this team. The Bears are such a cursed franchise and just can never seem to get it right. I don't think it's going to happen again, but it could, so we'll just have to see.
So, yeah, I think that Caleb Williams did pretty bad for his debut, obviously. We had a lot more expectations for him. I don't think this will stay, though. I think Caleb had a rough game, first game ever playing in the NFL. Going forward, I think he'll just progress to get better every single game he plays. Obviously, he plays Houston, which is not the best matchup for him this week, but I think playing a tough defense or a tough offense in general, too, will make him have to throw more, make him have to kind of adapt to being behind and working that way back up. So this obviously will be a competitive game. We'll see. He has some of the best weapons in the NFL, one of the best offenses overall if he is able to get to a even Jordan Love level. Mm-hmm. Overall, Caleb, I think, did a really good job in his first game. I think he just needs to work a little bit more.
I don't like Caleb Williams at all. Let's pull up his stat line. He threw 14 for 29, 93 yards. A bright spot is a 2-point conversion, then 5 carries for 15 yards. He was carried by his defense the entire way. The Titans don't have the greatest defense in the league either.
Yeah.
They have a bad defense compared to the majority of the teams that Caleb Williams is going to face, especially in his own division, with Green Bay and Detroit both having good defenses. If he can't pull it together against a bad Titans defense that's bottom of the league, he's not going to be able to pull it together against Detroit.
I mean, I would go to argue that the Titans have a solid defense. Now, I don't obviously think they're like top 10 or anything,
I
but
give them like
I think they're
18
higher
or something like that.
I think they're around like the 14-ish range.
Okay,
I think
so
they're pretty solid, all things considered. Now, granted, I do not think that he should have struggled as much as he did against this team, but I think that we should give it a little light to the quarterback that's just played his first NFL game ever. You know, obviously, Mike talked about this earlier. The difference between college and NFL is a big gap, so overall, I don't think he did that bad. I think we just have to give him some time to work through some things. Anyone want to have any more topics on that before?
I think we touched up a lot when we were talking about the game, so I don't really got anything else.
All right, so we'll just move on to the next quarterback who I love this guy. Jaden Daniels looked pretty good, all things considered, playing this game in general. Either of you want to start out with?
I really hate seeing him succeed. I wanted him on the Giants so bad. It was like the talk of the entire 2023 season that we thought the Giants were going to lose enough to be put in the position to draft Jaden Daniels, and I was really looking forward to it. And my hopes were let down. We missed Drake May and Jaden Daniels, and of course Jaden Daniels went to a rival in the Commanders. He looked great. His rushing threat that people were really talking up, I was kind of doubting. I was like, seeing some of his highlights in college, he's kind of sloppy. I don't know if it'd pan out as well in the NFL. Nope, he had like 100 rushing yards. Even his throwing didn't look bad. He's going to be basically a new Lamar, and I think he might be the first QB to drag the Commanders out of their drought they've been in for like 10 years.
Yeah, obviously going into his stat line, he threw the ball 24 times, completed 17 of those times, which is really solid. 184 yards passing, 0 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, though. Obviously, the passing game could have been better, but I just don't think anyone in this passing game actually did anything. Terry McLaurin.
Bucks are a decent defense.
Bucks got a defense as well. But working with his legs, that's really where we saw him shine. 16 attempts for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a lot for any QB. And I do know that their head coach did say they wanted to try to limit that a little bit more. They were trying to hope to keep it more towards the 8-10 range. They wanted to be able to be a passing quarterback first and then use those legs if it comes applicable, kind of like a Josh Allen. But overall, a really solid performance against a tough defense. How much of this was garbage time? I don't exactly know. But overall, I think that he's showing the signs that this is what they drafted him for and that he can do what they want him to do in his offense.
Yeah, I think that Jaden Daniels looked, especially compared to the other quarterbacks that played, very good. I mean, he could get his... my biggest critique is that it's not even really a critique. He only threw the ball 17 times, and he threw for 184 yards. That's pretty good for a rookie.
Yeah.
But he did run quite a lot. He ran almost the same amount of times that he did pass the ball. So I do think that they need to try to get the passing involved a bit more. But I still think he was fine in that category. He looked competent compared to most rookies when they come in. He looked like he knew what he was doing, and he led the offense to not a blowout, but a substantial loss against the Bucs, even though he still played decently well enough that against teams like the New York Giants, that is good enough to beat them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that Jaden Daniels going into this week playing the Giants will be another week of him popping off. I don't know if he'll get 2 rushing touchdowns, but I do think he'll get that 1 at least.
Yeah.
Michael, what do you think about that?
I think the Giants should be able to contain his running a little bit. We were okay last week in the run defense where we really struggled. Later on was our man coverage, looked terrible. I think if we can slow down or stop their throwing game, we should be able to handle this team okay. On the Commander side, I want to see Daniels run less just because it is not safe to just run that much. Like Lamar, before he's had a healthy stretch, but he used to get injured all the time. A lot of times with the rushing QBs, like Anthony Richardson last year, busted his knee or something.
I
Or
don't.
was it like an arm? I don't know. He was out for the season. He was very agile and like leaping over Cam Newton type. I just don't want to see him get injured just because we have a drought of good QBs lately, especially last season. We had like 16 get injured. So I hope he stays healthy and keeps playing good, even though he's on my rival team.
Yeah, let me just quickly add something. You said that the Giants stopped the run when it was actually quite the contrary.
Okay, no, I said we're okay against the run. We
Well,
didn't completely
yeah,
stop.
Aaron Jones went for 14 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown and ruined my week in fantasy.
Yep.
So I
Where
would
it
know that all
mattered,
too well.
like a lot of it came later in the game when it was basically like garbage time. The game was over. In the first like quarter and a half, he was being contained okay. He got the rushing touchdown, but he was basically averaging like 2.5 yards per carry. It didn't look amazing to me. I think that we definitely could. It's not like out of the realm of possibility that the Giants will struggle against that run defense. I think I'm kind of coping right now. I think Brian Robinson also looked good on that offense. I hope we win. If we lose, then I'm basically done with the season. I was already done with the season at basically 11:15 or not 1:15 last week. So I regained a little bit of confidence. That's probably going to go down the drain in 15 minutes in the next game, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, obviously, Jane Daniels, I think, was the exemplary, can't say that word, was the shining starter for rookies this week,
Yeah, I
doing the most
agree.
out of any of them. And moving on to the.
Malik was the best wide receiver of the rookie class. I will point that out. And that
Yeah,
was
but
in
like.
a bad game too. So he's playing a bad offense. Malik.
Didn't Brian Thomas look better?
Yeah, okay, he had a touchdown, but Malik had more yards.
What
and
about
reception.
Xavier Worthy?
Still, he had more yards.
Yeah,
like
but like.
reception yards.
Either way.
He had the most reception yards.
Yeah,
so
I just wanna fact check. I received a notification from my sources that says, and I quote, "I'm pretty sure everything Mike said was not true."
So whoever
never
said
know.
that probably knows ball a little bit more than you do, pal. But either way, moving on, we got Bo Nix, starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. That was not the best performance, especially against the Seahawks at this point in the season. Had 42 attempts at throwing, 26 of them were completed for 138 yards with 2 interceptions. Was able to run a little bit, 5 attempts for 35 yards and a touchdown, but obviously I don't think that's what we were expecting from Bo Nix. A very down performance. I think that Broncos fans were kind of hoping for something better than Russ, and honestly I think they got more or less the same as Russ. But going forward, I think he will be better the longer he takes. I think he's going to be like that Caleb type that towards the end of the season, I don't think he'll be like a starting quarterback, but like he'll be in that level where he's at least competent enough to lead this team to some wins.
So you must be believing in him, Josh, because you were saying like you could see them going 7 wins. So in order for that to happen, they're gonna have to see good QB play. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, let me add to this. Bo Nix targeted Cortland Sutton 12 times, and he
Jesus.
only hauled in 4 passes for 38 yards. If those two can establish like the real connection that I believe will come, I do think that they will start winning more games that they're at least not supposed to be winning
Yeah.
that we thought they wouldn't.
You have Son on your fantasy team, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's
Jeez,
good.
I didn't even know he had 12 targets. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But overall, Bo Nix, not the best performance, but obviously we saw worse with Caleb Williams. So moving forward, we have
Wait,
two.
Do you? I just want to ask before we move on. When do you think Drake May is going to come in to play here?
Mid-season.
Mid-season.
I don't think like that he makes it. I don't think Jacoby Brissett makes it that far.
Yeah.
Just because, who's the coach on the Patriots? I know that I know he said
Forget
that.
his name.
Something Mayo, I feel
I
like.
don't
Yeah,
remember
I
his
think
last
you're right
name.
with that.
But I do remember that he said that Jacoby Brissett was like one of the worst rushing quarterbacks ever, like something along those lines. Like that he said something along the lines of like he just doesn't move.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're gonna eventually like realize this, especially like once they start losing these games. Like next week they go out and they play the Seahawks. They're probably going to lose that. They play the
Yeah.
Jets. They're probably going to lose. They play the 49ers, Dolphins, Texans, Jaguars,
my
Jets.
God,
They're probably going
that's-
to lose all of those games in a row. I think that by week 9 they play the Titans. I think that's when we might see what's his name go in.
Drake May.
Drake May, yes.
I completely agree there. I think that going into the season, they weren't really expecting Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback for a majority of it. I think they just wanted to give Drake May a little bit more time to settle in, make sure he's comfortable watching someone perform. obviously not the best guy to watch perform. He ain't no Tom Brady, but
Yeah.
it's something that, maybe will improve his skill coming into the season. Week 7, week 9, around that range. I think once the hard games are done, they'll push him in a little bit more, but obviously we'll just have to wait and see on that. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. Drake May. Oh, yeah.
You're staying up a little.
My bad. So Drake May is another one I really want on the Giants. Giants were trying hard to grab him. They offered a decent sized package. Not one that would ruin their franchise like the Carolina Panthers did, but a big enough one to New England. But obviously, New England had no business taking that. They needed to get their QB there. I'm really looking for Drake May. I think he's my favorite out of the rookie class. I just want to see him play. I agree with Josh based on what he said. I think during that rough patch, it's going to break down this team, and he should get a shot hopefully around this, man. I don't want to have to wait like 13 weeks to see him play. I'd rather maybe like 5-6 weeks see him in there.
All right, well, I don't think we need to talk about Michael Penix. I think it's obvious that he is only coming in if
Kirk gets
injured or if he plays really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to talk about him before we move on?
I mean, Kirk looks slow right now. I could see Kirk getting knocked around a little bit and get injured. I think we will see some Penix this year. That's all I'm going to add to that.
Well, then moving on to our next segment, we're just going to talk a little bit about fantasy, things that happen.
Whoa.
What's up?
You forgot J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, God.
Well, I think that's because he's out for the season. I don't know what we're expecting else.
Hey, he's doing better than Caleb Williams, at least.
I'm not
you
sure
are
if that's...
a hater of Caleb Williams.
I don't like him.
Why don't you? I don't know why you don't like.
I mean, that's
Caleb
basically
Williams.
how I became.
I think he's a bust.
Yeah. That's
Look at
how
him.
I
He
was.
was crying in college. He's crying in the NFL now. What's he going to do when the 49ers come to town and beat him 87-0?
We'll see if that bites you in the butt later on.
Probably will.
But moving on to our fantasy segment, we're just going to talk a little bit about what happened in week 1 in fantasy. Obviously, the thing I want to start off with is the tight end scape in fantasy.
Ooh, yeah.
Obviously, tight ends really struggled week 1, besides like Isaiah Likely, who was like one of the best receivers in the game at that point.
Yeah.
Anyone want to start with that
I
topic?
mean, next up to that, we had Foster Marua or something like that. Have you guys ever heard of this guy?
Who does he play
never-
for?
Saints.
Oh, look at that.
So yeah, for Saints, I know they have Taysom Hill and they have the old dude. I forget his name. Never really heard of this guy. I am just kind of a casual, so in deep leagues, you don't know who he is. Oh, I'm surprised you don't know. You can see that, but then it was Brock Bowers. I wasn't expecting him to be good out the gate. Of course, Kyle Pitts, and then another New Orleans tight end in 5. And what's his name? Juwan Johnson. I know him.
Even Taysom Hill had a decent day.
Yeah, so a lot of tight end production from the Saints, which is kind of funny. But everyone else kind of had lackluster games, especially Dalton Kincaid, who Aiden has him. Evan Ingram for my fantasy team did a whole lot of nothing.
Mark Andrews,
yeah. It was just a rough week for tight ends. I don't think it will continue. I mean, last night we saw, what's his face? Can't think of his name.
Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid had a decent night. He had like 10 points in our league, which isn't bad. So we'll just have to see, I guess.
Josh, you have Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. And I'll add out my opponent, Gavin Laskowski. Shout out him. He whooped my ass. Both our tight ends got injured this week. Ferguson might be back. There's a chance he comes back, but I don't think I'll start
Do
him.
you want to play him injured? Yeah.
No. I think I'll wait till against the Ravens when they'll need him a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Ninjoku also out now, like officially out.
Yeah.
I'll also... The tight ends just kind of look pretty bad right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's whack when I have T.J. Hawkinson on my team, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he might end up starting for me.
Yeah.
Or Isaiah Likely.
Yeah. I'm curious about Isaiah Likely. He had that huge performance to start out the season. Do you guys think he's going to continue that production, or is he going to slow down and Mark Andrews is going to get more involved?
I think this is his best game of the season. I don't see him producing this much again.
Yeah.
I think that a big part of the Chiefs' plan was to get Mark Andrews, just take him out of the game,
Yeah.
make it so Lamar can't rely on him. And obviously that did not work out because Isaiah Likely was also there. I think now that all offenses are going to have to realize that this guy's a threat. We can't have him
Yeah.
not be covered. So going forward, I think that they'll give opportunities for either Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely to be the one each given week. I still think Mark Andrews is the better tight end, all things considered. He is a little bit older, didn't come off that injury from last year.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think that both of them will be able to coexist in this offense and be some of the primary receivers in this passing game for the Ravens.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think we might see the Ravens switch from more of like a passing like to Zay Flowers to more of like a double tight end type situation where they have 2 tight ends in and see if one of them can break free and catch the ball.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
I don't really got anything to add. I would like to lead it. Did me dirty. I was looking at my hand. I don't get anything to add. I don't have anything to add on tight ends. I do want to go. I want to go into Cooper Kupp. Like you said earlier, he had 21 targets, which is just something to look at. I think that for me, he's going to be possibly the one this year, especially with Tyreek Hill going down. Not going down. With Tua going down so early this season, that's instantly going to see an impact on Tyreek Hill. Cooper Kupp should be a monster, which is something to look forward to for Aiden, who has Cooper Kupp to fill in. He also has Puka Nacua, who's going to be out for some time.
Yeah, obviously, week 1 was kind of strange for a lot of teams. I know in our league, a lot of the people who weren't expected to do good ended up winning their games. You know, I think that overall running backs did a lot better than last year overall, starting off the season at least. We see a lot more running backs up there in the top echelon of wide receivers, which we did not see last year. Devon Achane, someone I think a lot of people slept on, has been doing really good in this game so far.
In our 8-man league, we let him fall all the way to like round 5 when he was projected like 2-3. And a lot of us paid for it, but Colin Parks was the guy to jump on that.
I feel like that has to do with the fact that originally we think that Mike McDaniel goes out and he says, oh, we're in a committee running back league. Whoever wants it gets it.
Yeah.
And now we kind of just see that that's not really the case at all. He was just kind of lying.
Pure dominance from Achane. I really like watching him play. He's very explosive. He can just accelerate and maneuver like crazy. I wish I had him because my running backs right now is J.K. Dobbins and Brian Robinson, so that sucks. But we'll just have to see. Saquon Barkley, another massive factor. I think that is going to be a top like echelon of players this year. Having 109 yards on 24 attempts and a big reception touchdown and then 2 touchdowns on top of that. I think he was the number 1 fantasy player of the past week, at least in our PPR league.
Yeah, I think Jan Reed was close, and I think
he was 0.1 behind Saquon.
Yeah, they were really close, and I think some of the quarterbacks got up there, but overall, it was a very interesting week. Josh, you wanted to?
Yeah, I will quickly add that Michael Battisti is in need of running backs, and Travis Etienne is for sale. I am a player over the limit, and I desperately need to make a trade. Along with that, on the trade topic, Aiden Kavanaugh, if you're listening, Puka Nacua for Jordan Addison. Trust me, it's going to be good. You should do it.
I completely disagree with that. You should not do that, but you know.
Oh, wait. Speaking on the trade topics, Dylan, you made a trade the other day. How'd that go?
Luckily, it got retracted, but somehow, someone, somewhere, offered my entire team to Michael Battisti for like a random player. I don't even remember who it was. Luckily, our commissioner took it back, but that
random player just happens to be Garrett Wilson.
Oh yeah, your favorite player.
My favorite player somehow. So yeah, that trade didn't go through, luckily, but obviously, I don't think it would have if Gavin knew the situation. But overall, other things for fantasy from week 1 that we want to touch on. Did anyone have a really bad performance we were expecting greatness from? Oh, obviously we have Amon-Ra.
Yeah, let me just talk about my entire team real quick. The best person on my team is my kicker, Brandon Aubrey. I'll stand by that.
That's yikes.
Kyler Murray did okay. Kamara did actually very well, which I expect he's going to be good. He's a PPR merchant. Etienne, bum. Amon-Ra, not even there. That guy's going to have to memorize more names and add another goal to his season if he wants to try to get anything else.
Gotcha.
DJ Moore with Caleb Williams, that's expected to do, I guess, when Caleb does that bad. I'm not expecting him to do great. He put up 10 points. That's pretty good. Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson, you are public enemy number 1. Ferg injured. Jahmyr Gibbs did all right, especially for being
like on injury.
On injury. He was limited. Rashad White did right. Brandon Aubrey, best person on my team. Screw the Dolphins defense. They just dropped 0 points for me because I forgot to switch it off.
Yeah, I guess I'll go into my team. What went wrong week 1? I started Chuba Hubbard over a few different running backs. One being Brian Robinson, who had a really good day. Chuba Hubbard got me like 1 point, so really helping out the team. Also, Evan Ingram got me 1 point. Michael Pittman had a nice 7-point day. Malik Neighbors only 10. Garrett Wilson didn't even do that good. Really, the best player on my team that week was Debo. Everything else kind of went to crap. I'm hoping for a bounce back. Right now, I'm the worst team in my league, which is not where I want to be, but we'll see.
Yeah, Michael, what happened to Jerome Ford? Where did he go?
I really wanted him, and I was like, I'll just pick him up later in the week, and then I went to go get him, and he was gone for some reason.
I wonder who has Jerome Ford, who just dropped 18 points on my bench.
Yeah. Well, I was going to start him, too.
He actually might start for me over ETN.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that, bud. But
ETN plays Cleveland, though. They have a good defense.
yeah.
ETN,
would never start.
let me pull it up. It's just
ETN fumbled.
I don't think it matters. I think you start your star players over, especially against the.
I'm already losing to Colin. It's not even close.
It's just I would never want to hear I'm starting Jerome Ford over ETN.
I don't know.
will say though, for my fantasy team week 1, I did a lot better than these two people. I actually won, not surprisingly, but started Jared Goff. Obviously, did not have a good game. I had Jane Daniels on my bench, which I'm happy to see he had a good game because that means that going forward I can have him as a starting QB. Both my running backs, Bijan and Isaiah Pacheco, James Cook, all had solid games. My wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, all did really good. We did see my tight end and my secondary flex, Mark Andrews and Jack Smith-Njigba, not having a great day, but obviously I think my kickers and my defenses ended up actually doing a good, solid amount of work for me this week. I had a good week. I'm pretty happy with how my team did. I know that you guys are kind of struggling right now, but going forward, I think fantasy-wise, our league has been going well. I think that fantasy will start to go more towards the norm. It was obviously a very weird week for everybody, every single team. So overall, I think fantasy-wise, unless you guys have anything else to add, we'll wrap that up.
Yeah, let me just quickly add that week 8, the Cardinals play the Dolphins on October 27th. Do not start Kyler Murray this week. Black Ops 6 comes out that week.
Ooh,
he will be playing Black Ops 6 all weekend.
He's going to be playing all sleepy and just drained.
But yeah, I think that's all we got for today. Unless there's anything else you guys want to add before we conclude here, Josh?
I have gotten a message that says, Michael Batista, you will be losing to Gavin in fantasy.
No, that will not be happening.
That's I'm just reading it.
It's just
Don't look at me.
lies that the media is trying to push on our podcast. I don't even know where the source is coming from. It's just not true. Disregard.
But either way, that's gonna wrap it up. Like I said, no more thoughts from you two.
I mean, we talked about week 1. We talked about fantasy. Just a wacky week 1. I'm looking forward to the next Sunday.
And that's going to end our podcast for today. Week 2, GridIron Banter. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you ended up enjoying it.
Shout out to Josh for joining us.
Shout out to
this
Josh.
week.
Gavin sadly could not be here, so I had to host today. We had to invite another guest over, so thank you, Josh, for coming and joining us tonight. Michael, obviously, here most weeks, giving his opinions. But that's going to end it for us. Hope you have a good day, and we'll hope to see you next week, next Friday.